Hi, Annette. I am so happy to have you here on the show, which is about 21st century leadership. And you're such a good example of someone who helps organizations step up their leadership and help middle managers manage up. But you're also an example yourself of somebody who has gone through this transformation from 20th century paradigm, one-sidedness, into a different paradigm with both and. We can see that and sign on your wall. Yes. So you're now both and. So can you just talk a little bit about how you as a female leader were before you discovered the other side of the and, which is the feminine side. Before you discovered that side, how were you as an ambitious female leader? Describe yourself a little bit at that time.
Yes, and thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I am born and raised in a family where my father was a very traditional businessman, and he was having a very good career. My mother was this very sweet woman, bringing up the kids and being at home and taking care of all the household and the kids. And I remember when I was a teenager, I decided that being a woman, I don't think I was that specific about it, but being a woman was not for me. I did not want to be at home and take care of the kids and do all these things. So I decided that I would never have kids. I would want to live in New York, and I want to be a CEO for a big company. That was a very early decision I made in my life. And then fortunately I got kids. And I stayed in Denmark, and everything is fine. But I was educated in this masculine paradigm. I had the company where I got my training. I was the only female, and the jobs I took after that was also very strong masculine values. And when I was in my 20s, I got into a company where I was allowed to run very fast. And the more I ran, the more responsibility I got. And I had this ambitious from when I was a teenager that I really want to move to the top. I wanted to be a CEO of a big company at one point. And I noticed that the more I did, the more I got. So I trained myself into being this little machine of, doing and doing and doing and doing. And every time I did something, I got something. So that was a very masculine energy. And I remember at one point, it was really forbidden for me to relax. I had this whole story about myself that I was very important, and I had so much to do, and I was very busy, and I never had any time to do anything. And I remember specifically one incident when I was coming home from work, and I was lying on the couch because I was so tired, and I thought, just 2 minutes. I'm just going to lie here for 2 minutes. And then I fell asleep, and then I woke up hearing the key in the door, and I jumped out of the couch, and I was like, oh my God, it's my boyfriend. He's coming home. He cannot see me lying here. It was like as in I had been doing something that was illegal or something. It was just not okay to relax. And it was just not okay. I had to, do something and work and do that all the time. So, and I was also, I got a very positive response from everybody else, because everybody was like, oh my God, you're so tough, and you can do this, and wow, it's so exciting, and you have this exciting job. And so the whole story that I told myself, and also the story that people around me told me, was like holding me on to this, like, you have to do something all the time. You have to work hard and run and, just keep doing things. And I got into this idea that I was the only one who could do everything. And if something had to be done, I had to do it. And I just remember that I got really tired, but it was not okay to be tired. So I had to stand up and, marching on like a good soldier. So that was my life for a lot of years. And it's not that I'm not sorry that I did that, because it brought so many good things for me. But I really remember one of the things from that time was like, I was just tired. I was really tired, and I couldn't allow myself to be tired. So I just had to march on. Yeah.
And with a lot of success and good results. And of course, as you say, that's a big motivator because it works. It is actually the paradigm that used to get us the best results.
Mm-hmm.
So it's totally understandable. And I think a lot of women can identify with you that we have seen that's the way to get results. So that's what we do. We work hard. Yeah. We use our drive. We use our will. We make things happen. We're in control. We organize. We structure. And if it doesn't work, we work harder.
Yeah,
that's the paradigm lots of us have adopted. And then you come into my life one day. You tell me, I saw this ad on Facebook for feminine business leadership. I didn't really know what it was, but I just signed up.
Yes,
and then
it was really funny. I was sitting in my couch. That's very funny, actually, because I just have that story about the couch that it was really, very, very forbidden to be there. But I was in my couch, and it was December. I was in the middle of a divorce, and I was so tired. I was so tired. I was like, I've been holding on and, doing my things. And I just felt like something is not working anymore. There's no way I can continue just walking and running and doing all these things. I'm so tired. And I was just at the urge of, I just wanted to cry, but I didn't want to cry. So I was like, okay, you just pull yourself together and you just move on. And I knew that I had to do something. I was longing for, I had this longing for something that was a little bit more easy. And I really wanted to, I just wanted to be more relaxed and be able to be more in flow and all of that. But I didn't know how, and I didn't know that was kind of a thing that you could do. I had this longing, and I knew that I wanted to learn something new. I just didn't know what it was. So I've been looking around to see what should I learn? What is the next thing for me to learn to get better? And I have seen a couple of programs, and I've been like, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? And then just your Facebook ad came up. It was just a little video, and you said something about, do you dream of having more ease and not have to work and push so much? And I was like, yes, please. That's what I want. I was like, almost, I just wanted to cry. I was like, yes, that's what I want. Mm-hmm. And it took me like 3 minutes. I clicked and I went in and I saw the description. I was like, yes, that's what I'm going to do. And I remember I wrote to you to ask, is it this one or this one I'm going to participate in? Because I didn't know. But it was never a question whether I should or not. It was just a question, is this one or this one? I want to go to this. So so that was the easiest decision in my whole life. And I never thought that I was going to, it wasn't a thing for me before I saw that ad.
But the funny thing is, the next thing I know of you is that you come flying into the room with these new course attendants, ambitious female business leaders wanting to learn how to lead their business in the feminine way. And we just see you come flying in, you shine like a sun, and you are so happy, and you have manifested already, I don't know how many things. It's like you pushed that button, you decided to allow the feminine into your life. And then it was so fascinating with you, because just that decision, just saying, okay, I'm going to let the feminine in, it's like it created this ripple effect. So Tell us what happened.
It was really crazy. I was, as I said, I was just getting a divorce. And I had decided, because that's typically something I would say, I would never have a man again. No way I could do everything myself, because that's the way I am. And I actually convinced all my friends, because in the beginning they said, you're going to have another man. But at one point they said, maybe you're right. You sound really convincing. You should never have a man again. And then in the beginning of January, I just allowed this fantastic man into my life. And he's like very masculine and very powerful and very strong in a very fantastic way. So he's just that man that, I have this feeling that he has his hand on my back all the time. No matter what I do, he's just right behind me. And that is, I don't know if that's because he's very special. I would like to say that he is, but I really strongly believe that it's because I allowed him to be there. I actually never think I allowed anyone to be there just beside me or just behind me or just around me before, because I always had this idea that I could do everything myself, or that I had to do everything myself, because nobody, I never had this feeling that, if I fell, that somebody would really catch me. And this is the feeling that I have with this man, that, if I fall, he will just catch me. So I can really relax. I can just let go and say, I can do what I feel is the best, because I don't have to think about all the different things that can go wrong, or what do I need to do. I don't have to calculate all the details. And that's something that came with that decision when I just decided to join the journey with you. It just opened this whole okay, I need to get into this feminine energy of relaxing a little bit and still using my power, but not as this forced strong running marching energy. So that's I think that was a side effect. so I think that it's a good side effect.
Yeah. I mean, if I should analyze it from my perspective, I am such a nerd when it comes to masculine and feminine energy. And what I see in you is that you, excuse me, you allow the feminine energy into your life, and then a man shows up that can represent that inner man that you had to be before, that was so present in you before. Then you could, by allowing the feminine, you invite in an external man that can hold you, and you can be allowed to also be feminine. It doesn't mean that you give up on your masculine, of course, because you're still very powerful, but it's to get two legs, two gears instead of just one.
Yeah, it makes total sense, because that's exactly how I feel, that now I have this very strong masculine man who can do the things for me that I had to do before. And because I had to do it before myself, there was not enough space for me to also be in my feminine energy. So it makes perfect sense.
Mm. And then what has happened in terms of your business? So tell me a little bit about what happened work-wise. So one thing is, of course, it's wonderful to attract a supportive man. Mm. And that, by the way, ladies who are listening to this, that's not going to happen as long as you are the man. So as long as we are the men, how should a man from the outside enter and contribute, right? So we have to allow a man from the external to come in. So that's only by loosening up on our own inner man and allowing our feminine to be available. So one thing, of course, is that wonderful man, but then what happened work-wise? So I'm asking this because a lot of women are really afraid of taking the step. Why? What happens if I let go of control?
Yeah. I think for me, it wasn't about letting go of control. For me, it was more like this. I know this works, or I know it used to work. So for me, it was like, but what if I let go of that power energy? Because I couldn't see how the feminine could be as powerful as the masculine, and maybe it was because I just couldn't see how I could combine the two. I think that was it. So, and I also, I know from my own work that, you know, to find a balance, you sometimes need to like go out of one, you know, so if you are here, you have to go here before you find the balance. And I was afraid of, you know, being like all feminine and not, you know, I was afraid of losing that energy and that, wow, yes, I can do something. And then, you know, I have this, push a button and then I'm off. I was afraid of losing that. But the first thing I realized, the first workshop I held after, in the beginning of the new year, after I met this wonderful man and after I joined your program, was that in that room with all these managers that I was having this workshop for, there was a lot of women. And previously, I often experienced that women had kind of a resistance towards me. And the first time I held that workshop, it was completely different. It was just like, I just had this connection with the female managers in the room that I'd never had before. And I think, if I should analyze that, I think it's because that they could recognize themselves in me, also the feminine part. Because I think that sometimes some of the women has been a little bit scared of me because I was like, so wow, here we go. And so I was not as scary as I used to be. So that was the first thing I experienced. And I was like, wow, why is that? Is that because I had sex, or is that because what? I was like, wow, that was interesting. and then I just realized over the year, now it has been a year, that I actually have more female customers than I used to. So that's interesting. Also because I really like working with women. So I attract something that I did not attract before. So yeah. And then it's just another thing I realized from combining the masculine and the feminine is that I don't have to do anything or everything myself. And I think I understand why I actually in the beginning thought that I should do everything, because I was trained to do everything, and it worked for me. And also, you know, in the beginning, when you have your own business, you don't have enough money to buy help, or at least you don't think you have enough money to buy help. And then it was just like something I did. I can do everything. So what I realized over the last year was that one of the things that really takes my energy is when I have to drive around. If I have 3 speeches over a day, I have to drive from Copenhagen to Jutland, and then to north of Jutland, and then back to Aarhus again. So it's a lot of kilometers in the car. And then I hired this young guy he's a student, and sometimes he doesn't have to go to the university. So he's driving me around. So it's like totally driving Miss Daisy. So I'm just in the back seat of my car and relaxing or working or sleeping or whatever to take care of my energy. So I think that's the biggest thing that I have learned, or maybe I haven't learned it quite. I'm not there yet, right? But I am very, very focused on taking care of my energy, and all the time thinking, okay, what do I need to do now to get more energy, so I can be present, so I can be on stage and be wild and be everything, but I need to take care of my energy. That combined with my man, who in the beginning of the year said, my biggest purpose is taking care of you and your energy. So that's really something that really changed over the last year. That, you know, knowledge of me having to take care of my energy. So now I am very fond of letting things go I don't have to be the driver. I don't have to be the one reading my book and finding themes for the podcast. I don't have to, a lot of things I don't have to do. So I can just, go to my horse and, have a good time and relax. And then I'm just filled with energy and I can go back and then I'm inspired and I'm fresh and I'm everything. So I can work and actually be better at my work. So I think that really changed.
Yeah, because the work-wise, I experienced you over a whole year. So I've been studying, how did it go with integrating the masculine and the feminine. And one thing I noticed is that at a certain point, your new boyfriend, and for those of you who are wondering, can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who are wondering, so the boyfriend and the horse, two different.
Yeah. Important.
Just mentioning, right?
Important.
So it has a horse and a boyfriend. But I remember that in a couple of months into the program, your new beautiful boyfriend invited you on holiday, and we had a meeting. We meet every month in this business meeting, and we had a meeting, and you said, well, then on my vacation, I'll take my book along, and then I'll da-da-da-da-da. And then we challenged you a little bit. We said, why don't you leave that book at home and just allow yourself to relax? And I think it was a little bit, it was like a foreign thought for you. Can I actually go on holiday and just, and tell us what happened?
Yeah, it was really interesting because I had this idea that I always had when I go on vacation. I'm of course also working. So I just get up a couple of hours before my family and then I can do a couple of hours of work. And then, so that's was my idea of holiday and vacation before. And then I said, I need to get this book done. And it's just typically me, I have a deadline and I will freaking meet that deadline. It's just the way it's going to happen. So, and I set this deadline for myself, of course. And then in order to meet that deadline, I had to write on my book on my vacation. And then you said, maybe you should just leave the book at home, go on vacation, enjoy, have sex, and just again and again, relax. And then maybe you will be more inspired to go back and really finish that book. And so I decided to not bring my computer, which was like, I almost had a panic attack, leaving the house without my computer. But it was so interesting, and I couldn't tell when I would have had 1 minute to work on that vacation because I was just being carried around, and it was just a fantastic vacation. And when I came back, I was inspired and I was full of energy, and the book. I'm so proud of that book, and I'm so sure that is because I actually allowed myself, pushed by you, but still, to let it go, just to let it go and just do my thing and then come back and write. So the flow in the book is really good, and I think that's because I actually just allowed myself to let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're such an extraordinary example of somebody with a very, very strong yang energy. I mean, I love working with women with a strong yang energy because what happens when you add the yin energy, the feminine energy, you become so unstoppable. It's like you get double power. So, and that's something that I think is way too underestimated, that we can have double superpowers, 2 superpowers instead of 1. And you're such a good example of it because once you got that and you're so fast, that's a characteristic about yang women, very fast, very competent. So once you get something, you give it full speed in the yin, and then you get a double result. So that has been such a pleasure to witness. You're so fun because I just give you a little push and then you get extraordinary results. So that is and actually you did the same thing. There was another example of you doing something in a different way. I remember when your book then was about to be published, you had another challenge because something went wrong with the publisher or something like that.
Yeah.
So you were you had the choice between your old way of reacting and your new way, and what happened?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I had this launch of the book, and I had planned a book reception. I ordered a huge cake, and I bought champagne, and I hired a place to be and invited people, and then something happened, and the book didn't get finished. There was something with the graphics and the printing process and everything that went wrong. And I realized this Friday afternoon, and the book reception was on Tuesday. So I was just jumping back in my normal way of reacting, which was like, okay, it's just freaking typical. If you want to do something, you got to do it yourself. So I just jumped into that energy of, okay, what can I do? I can do this. I can do this. I need to call a printer. I need to blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, I print the freaking book myself, you know? and I called my man and said, you know, this is a problem. And he said, okay, so what can we do? So both of us jumped into that. And then in a couple of minutes, he said, but honey, do you think this is the best way? What if when can the book be ready? I was like, well, they say in a week. Okay, so just push the book reception for 1 week, let it go. And I'm pretty sure the result will get better if they just have the time that they need, instead of you pushing something through and you know, the result might get even worse. So I just had to like really breathe and say, okay, I need to let it go. And I just let it go. And when I look at it now, it didn't mean a thing that the book came out 1 week later. It you know, it's just, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But if I had decided to go with that first impulse, I would have got the book done by Tuesday. But I'm not sure it would have been with a good result. And I'm pretty sure I would have drained my own energy, and I wouldn't be able to enjoy that book reception as much as I did, because I really enjoyed that book reception. Mm. So that was just another example of, you know, letting go.
It's a good example of the difference between very linear thinking, which is very much a part of the Yang paradigm and quantum thinking, which I believe is part of the Yin paradigm. Mm. Which is, you know, that sometimes there's something even better if we don't meet a deadline. Something if we don't meet a goal, you know, something even better can come out of it.
Yeah.
And that's not the same as being lazy and passive and a victim of circumstances, or just like whatever. It's not the same as not taking responsibility, but it's losing that grip of control, like as if we humans had full control. You know, that's an illusion. So losing that and allowing, you know, something better to even occur. I think that's the good balance. To take responsibility. You know, you do your part, you take your leadership, you do whatever you can to make it happen, but then you open up.
Yeah.
So you can allow it to happen.
Yes.
And way too often I think that in bigger and small corporations, we are way too single-mindedly, narrow-mindedly, tunnel vision-mindedly focused on one goal, and we cannot see what's outside of that box. And that's where all the magic is.
Yeah.
That's where all the miracles are. Where all the unseen, the unforeseen solutions are. And that's where you can hit jackpot.
Yeah. And I think that's really, really important what you say there, because that's something that I have come to realize, that I just didn't get it before. It's not that I never thought about the being more feminine, or of course I did, because I've been confronted with this over the years. You know, at one point, one of my male colleagues said, "Oh, it's such a pleasure to work with you. You're not like any other woman. You're just like one of the guys." And I'm pretty sure that it was a compliment, but it was like, what? You know, so really, really interesting. But for me, I've always seen the feminine as you say, a little bit like, whatever. Yeah. We just go with the flow. We just let it go. We just see what happens. A little bit lazy, a little bit as a victim, you know. there's nothing I can do about that. So I think that has been my resistance in order to like go with the feminine, because it has been I don't want to go there, because that's just it's a little bit weak. Honestly, I thought being feminine was a little bit weak, and I would like to be strong, and I would like to take action, and take my career to another level and all of that. But what I didn't see, and what I have realized after this year, is that feminine is not about being weak. It's about allowing yourself to breathe and look in other directions. Because when I go into my masculine gear, I have this tunnel vision, as you say. It's like the goal is there. Now it's just a matter of how fast you can go there. But when I let go of that, I can just breathe, and I can look around and say, okay, is there anything else? Is there anything that can do this that can make this even better? So that for me is a big difference. And I expect that there would be other women thinking as the feminine as weak as I did. And for those women, I just want to say, it's not about being weak. It's actually about being able to look around and see what is there else, and then collect the energy and say, now we go, and then stop and say, okay, is there something missing? And then collect energy and then go. So that I think that is what I have accomplished in combining the two. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been such an extraordinary example. I really have loved witnessing you. And I think what you're talking about is also, using both gears. When you only use the speeder gear, you get tired. Yeah. So I guess you're not so tired anymore, right? Because now you also use the clutch.
Yeah.
So when you have that dynamic between speeder and clutch, you just preserve your car better. It just like drives better. So how's your energy level now?
Much better, because I also I take responsibility for it. It's like, okay, I know next week is going to be. I have weeks where I'm literally on the go all the time. So I still have those weeks where like, oh, now I'm just going, but I'm much better at looking at the week and say, okay, so the week after I need to do this, or the week before, or the day before, I really need to. I can tell Chris, my beautiful man, I need to just lie on the couch, and I need for you to just do this on my hair all Sunday, because I'm going to have a very rough week. And he's doing that. So it's just like really taking responsibility of my own energy level, which means that I'm not so tired as I used to be. I can still like really run, but I know that I have to put on some gas, and I have to just slow down every once in a while. Otherwise, I won't be able to do this when I'm 80, 90. And I really want to do this. I want to do what I'm doing when I'm 80, 90 years old. And then I have to really take care of myself. Yeah.
That's a beautiful example. And for you ladies who are listening to this, who are wondering, how do you get a boyfriend like Chris? He sounds like the ideal man, but I can see what you're doing right. So if I may point that out, first of all, you're allowing it to happen. But secondly, you are asking, you're aware of your needs, and you are asking to have your needs met.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women don't know their needs, can't feel anything, because when we only work in the masculine gear, we get numb. We can't feel our own needs. When we don't use the feminine, we can't. And actually, that's an advantage of the masculine, the tunnel vision. Don't feel a thing, rush, go for the goal. But in the long run, when you don't feel anything, it means also you don't feel any happiness, because you can't, you're numb. So you allow yourself to actually feel what is actually going on. Wow, I'm actually tired. Wow, I actually need to charge my batteries before I go on a marathon. And so that is a very important thing, to feel your needs and to ask them to get them met. And then thirdly, and most importantly, you allow a man to fulfill your needs. So that's a very, very big difference, because when you were still in that gear, when you're still in that operating mode where you said, I need to do everything myself. You know, you have been sitting like this yourself. It's just not the same thing. No. And the problem is that when a woman doesn't have any needs, where should a man come and help her? I think the masculine really enjoys to be useful. Mm. I mean, just like the feminine enjoys to nourish, to provide. You know, you provide. I mean, I'm sure Chris enjoys your colors, your energy, your movement. It's just like that's what polarity is, that we're different and we enjoy each other's difference. But if he would be dancing around saying, I love red, it would be a little bit difficult. Why should there be two of you, right? So it's nice that he's not, that's not his expertise, but he loves to provide the opposite of what you have. So that's the beauty of polarity, that we can actually complement each other. Yeah, that's where we get to dance.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a very good point that, you know, allowing that and also knowing where am I really good, where should I do my thing, and where should I just take a step back and let him do his thing. And he sometimes I forget, right? So because I'm very trained in the masculine gear, so sometimes I forget, and then he just reminds me. So it's like, no, honey, that's my job. That's my job. I'm the one taking care of you. So that's really, really nice and very important for me to get reminded. But it's also very important that I allow it when he says it very clearly, you know. So I say, oh yes, of course, I'm sorry. Then, you know, you're the one now. So yeah, that's important.
So it's also very inspiring for ladies out there to hear that such men do exist.
Oh yes, they do.
They do exist, and for the guys listening to this, you know, just hear how nourishing that is for a woman to have a guy like that around. It is it's divinely nourishing. It is such a pleasure. And would you say that Chris gets a lot back? I mean, is he like a poor little victim of a woman needing some masculine attention, or does he actually get nourished as well? I mean, tell the truth here. So
yeah.
So for the men listening who are like, do I want to sit like a whole Sunday? You know, I have other things to do.
No, of course, and I think that what Chris gets back is that, you know, when I am full of energy, if I'm not tired, if I'm not cranky, in a bad mood, if I'm just like happy and fresh and full of energy, then I'm getting really, really delicious when I'm in that mode, right? And obviously, having a really delicious woman, it must be very nice, right? So what he gets from me is, of course, the juiciness and all the things that he would like to have from me. And I think that he really loves to do stuff that makes me happy. It's a problem for me to say it out loud, because the first thing going on in my mind is like, oh my God, so is he just like, am I saying that he's a pleaser? No, he's not a pleaser, but he loves to make me happy, because it does something for his feeling of being a man, that he can actually make his woman happy. And I think that's one of the things that he really gets back, besides all the other thing, right? But you know, when I'm happy, obviously I want to be with him more. I want to be something for him. I want to have more sex. I want to touch him. I want to kiss him. I want to do all the things with him, because I'm happy and at ease. So so I don't think that he thinks that he just has to do all these things for me and not getting anything back. I don't think he's thinking that.
No, I think he's very smart. You must, you know, I have these little medals that I give out to the men of my goddesses who are really doing a good job, because I think he's an extraordinary man. He's very smart. Because it seems like he instinctively knows, and maybe this is also a little bit more mature state in his life where he has learned that's the best investment. Yeah, it's the best investment he can make, because a happy woman can pull so many others up a frustrated woman can destroy a whole village.
Yes.
You can choose. What would you like? What do you prefer? And a well-nourished woman will give she will have so much love and light to pour back, which spills over on him and nourishes him and fills his batteries. So it's so smart. But I mean, I do want to say he is actually also still quite rare. I think the younger generations are much smarter than the older generations because they just didn't grow up with that mindset, or they didn't see role models for that. It was very polarized, and when we've seen our parents either masculine or feminine. But what we see in the newer generations is more that he can also be soft and lean back, and then you can be the provider of energy and love. So it's not that he only has to be masculine. He can actually also, by filling you up, he can actually receive a lot more. So his feminine is actually also getting nourished.
And he's also, sometimes he's the one who's tired. So he just writes me and say, I'm coming home in like 30 minutes. I'm very tired. Can you just do this for me tonight? So it's just this exchange of, doing good stuff for each other. And that's so much easier when we are both filled up with good energy, because then we have something to give. Otherwise we would just be like, oh no, I'm not going to do anything for you because I don't have anything to give, because I'm like totally
and that's what happens in a lot of relationships today, right? Both are exhausted.
Yes.
So like, you need attention too. I mean, forget it. I gave people attention all day, so I mean, forget about you. It's like the last thing I want to do.
Yes.
And that's actually really a shame. So what we can do in that situation, we can also do something to nourish ourselves, so we have something to give, and then when we start giving, it starts this positive cycle. So I think both men and women also need to be good at giving to themselves, to ourselves, nourish ourselves. But it's beautiful when we can exchange, that. Yeah, it's a beautiful dialogue. So I'm curious about something, and this, dear listeners, we have not prepared this, Anita and I, but I'm going to ask her a question that she doesn't know I'm going to ask her. So on my programs, I work with feminine leadership and leadership based on the feminine model. And what I teach people in my programs is to integrate the masculine and the feminine energy. But what I'm a specialist in is the feminine energy, because I believe that the future is feminine and that we need to put the feminine foot first, because our inner leadership determines the outer results, right? So we have been working with that for a whole year. And it can be a little bit provocative for some people that I'm not more results oriented in my programs, because I am so eager to shift the energy. So shift the inner vibration, shift the energy. So, I get people on my programs, they want to go, they have this vision. And I think my job is to get them to match energetically their vision. And the provocative thing about my programs is that a lot of times you can't see the results immediately. It's like you take a different course, and I usually say to people, it's like you start again and you don't see a thing in the beginning, and then you're like, what, is this working? But then in the long run, you have made a completely different course. So, you have to answer honestly, and this is on air and everything, so it's like, it's scary for me too. But I would like to ask you, you spent a whole year changing your vibration, changing your inner leadership, upgrading your vibration, upgrading your, your vision. I think your vision got bigger and broader and more elaborate and more in alignment with your true calling. But I also think you did a lot of energy work, which is subtle, which is invisible, which is like, where is that going to take me? So I'm curious, where did it take you? Now, it's the January, the year after. Can you see any results in your business? Can you see anything going on in your life that you can see, well, that is certainly new energy going on?
Yeah. I was provoked as well. So I totally agree with you. It is provocative. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. So we do this. And so we meditate. Yes. And so when can I see the big number on
my bottom line?
Yes, exactly. So I was provoked in the beginning as well, but I was mostly inspired by how you forced me to use another side of myself. And I was very curious. At one point I was like, okay, I'll just let go and see where this takes me. And for the entire year, I did not see any result in my business at all. Yeah, of course I saw some energies with, with my customers and the feedback I got, but I didn't see anything on the financial side. And now I just closed January yesterday with my biggest financial result ever. So yes. So, and it's interesting because I remember when we met last time in December, I think I said, I really realized that I've made this shift, this internal shift. And now I'm so ready to go out and do something externally from that platform. And this is what I'm doing right now. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm very happy to hear that.
Yes.
Because for me, it's also, to be honest, I'm also threading new grounds in the sense that I'm working with the paradigm of the new era. So it's like the new consciousness, the new business consciousness, the new leadership consciousness. And I mean, we are threading new grounds. We have not seen lots and lots of people do that. It's the business paradigm that is in alignment with, the globalization 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. We're seeing all these upgrades or shifts in terms of what's happening in the world and in the business paradigm. But we also, I think, need to make a consciousness shift. We also need, and I'm not the only one saying that, of course, many people are saying that. But we have not seen so many examples of people applying it. We see it among the younger entrepreneurs, thank God, as they're such role models for a completely different way of doing things, a lot of times with speed and ease. So they're very good role models, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen that many examples yet. So that's why it's also, for me, it's like I'm scientifically collecting results and seeing, was my intuition and my feeling of what's needed now, is that does that hold ground? And fortunately, I can see that, of course, I'm not the only one saying that there's so many pioneers in the new business paradigm, but it's just really interesting to notice the results of what's happening. And that's why you're very important, because you're somebody who applies things. So I give you a tool, you apply it. That's the great thing about a yang person. Like, they're used to, okay, give me something to work, I'll do it. Okay, meditate, freaking boring, but I'll do it. Because you're somebody who applies. Yeah. And that's why you're an interesting, you've been wonderful for me to work with, because you have been so diligent at applying. So then it's easier to see what can happen than if people don't apply. So, and I also noticed, you said to me, I asked a little bit about your new book, which can be seen in the background, and which was one of the business projects that got birthed through that during that year. And you said to me just before we started that actually it's selling very well. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are very happy about that book.
Yes, I'm very happy about the book, and it's selling very well. And it's interesting that I have another book that I don't have it. My new book is this one, and I can't show the other book because it's sold out. So it also just selling well because of the new book. So so that's like all these little rings that is just moving out. So
yeah, it's been wonderful. And I can also tell the international listeners that the good news is that one of the things that you decided last year was also to start working internationally.
Yes.
So now it's not only Danish people and Scandinavian people who can benefit from your wisdom, it's also the international crowd. So thank you so much, Annette, for being a role model. And
thank you thank you very much for showing the way, because that's it's true that I have been doing what you have asked me to, but I needed to know what to do before I could do it. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Thank you, and the best of luck to you. Keep us posted on your new podcast. We will hear all about the results of your new way of working. So thank you so much.
Thank you.